The Cuban Missile Crisis, a 13-day standoff in October 1962, brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. The crisis began with a Soviet decision to place nuclear missiles in Cuba. Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev saw an opportunity to bolster Soviet defenses and deter the United States. Cuba, under the leadership of Fidel Castro, welcomed the missiles as a way to deter a potential US invasion. The presence of Soviet missiles just 90 miles off the coast of Florida posed a significant threat to the United States and shifted the global balance of power. The Soviet Union's decision to send nuclear weapons to Cuba was a major escalation in the Cold War. The United States had long maintained a policy of containment, seeking to limit the spread of communism. Khrushchev's gamble threatened to upend the established order and put the two superpowers on a collision course. The world watched with bated breath as the crisis unfolded. The spectre of nuclear annihilation loomed large, casting a long shadow over the days to come. On October 14, 1962, a US U-2 spy plane flying over Cuba captured photographic evidence of Soviet missile sites under construction. The discovery sent shockwaves through the US government. President John F. Kennedy and his advisors were stunned by the audacity of the Soviet move. The presence of these missiles, capable of striking targets across the continental United States, was unacceptable. The United States had been caught off guard, and the sense of vulnerability was palpable. Kennedy convened a group of advisors known as the Executive Committee of the National Security Council, or EXCOM, to formulate a response. Options ranged from diplomatic pressure to a full-scale invasion of Cuba. Fear and uncertainty gripped the nation as the news of the Soviet missiles became public. The world held its breath, waiting to see how the United States would respond to this unprecedented challenge. On October 22, 1962, President Kennedy addressed the nation. In a televised speech, he announced a naval blockade of Cuba. This quarantine, as he called it, was designed to prevent further Soviet shipments of offensive military equipment to the island. Kennedy declared that any attack launched from Cuba against any nation in the Western Hemisphere would be regarded as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States, requiring a full retaliatory response. The blockade went into effect immediately. US Navy ships took up positions around Cuba, prepared to intercept and inspect any vessels suspected of carrying offensive weapons. The world watched as Soviet ships approached the blockade line. The tension was almost unbearable. Section 4. Brinkmanship, Khrushchev's response. Nikita Khrushchev condemned the US blockade as an act of aggression. He ordered Soviet ships to continue towards Cuba, setting the stage for a potential confrontation. For several days, the world teetered on the brink of nuclear war. Soviet ships approached the blockade line, then stopped short. Messages were exchanged between Washington and Moscow, each side trying to gauge the other's resolve. The pressure was immense. Kennedy and Khrushchev, facing the unimaginable consequences of miscalculation, knew that the fate of the world hung in the balance. Every message, every move carried the weight of history and the threat of annihilation. Section 5. A sigh of relief, resolution, and its aftermath. After days of intense negotiations, a breakthrough was reached. Khrushchev agreed to remove the Soviet missiles from Cuba in exchange for a US pledge not to invade the island. The United States also secretly agreed to remove its Jupiter missiles from Turkey. The Cuban Missile Crisis was over. The world breathed a collective sigh of relief. The crisis had brought the world closer to nuclear war than ever before. It highlighted the dangers of Cold War brinkmanship and the terrifying potential consequences of miscalculation. In the aftermath, both superpowers took steps to reduce tensions, including the establishment of a direct hotline between Washington and Moscow. The Cuban Missile Crisis serves as a stark reminder of the importance of diplomacy, communication, and the constant pursuit of peace in a world still threatened by nuclear weapons.